Sukui Dar! Greetings, I am Tad Larkin, the lore master of Manda-LORE, and today I will be digging through the archives to elaborate on the mystical inhabitants of Dathomir. The Witches of Dathomir were a matriarchal society of force-sensitive human females, who lived on the heavily forested Outer Rim world of Dathomir. Unlike the Jedi or the Sith religions that view the Force with a dark side and a light side, the Dathomir Witches view the Force in an atavistic sense, neither light or dark, just pure ancient magic to be used at the user's discretion. On Dathomir, the witches were scattered about the planet and were organized into numerous tribal communities in the form of a clan system, very similar to the Mandalorians, except they were not unified under a grand chieftain like they were. The most powerful and notorious of these clans were the Singing Mountain Clan, the Nightsisters, the Frenzied River Clan, Misty Falls Clan, Red Hills Clan, Dreaming River Clan, and the Great Canyon Clan. At the head of each clan was a clan matriarch, chosen among the oldest and wisest of the clan, and it was not uncommon for matriarchs to be over a century old. Though the witches had no central form of government, they did adhere to a code of ethics laid down by the first Dathomir witch, the exiled knight Alia, called the Book of Law. The Book of Law contained moral and ethical guidelines for future generations of Dathomir witches to follow, as well as numerous spells, or what we would know as force abilities, and their applications. At its core, the Book of Law carried this message to its followers. Daughters of Alia, learn these words and learn them well, for they are the foundations that will increase your strength and keep you safe from harm. Those who suffer emotion will never enjoy peace. Those who choose ignorance will never know their own greatness. Those who yield to passion will fail to dominate. Those who fear death will never achieve pure power. Never forget that your magic must always be used wisely. Never concede to evil, lest you be consumed by it. Over time, some would come to interpret the Book of Law differently, and those who were found in violation of these sacred laws were usually cast out from their clan and banished, more often than not, finding their place with other banished witches in the Nightsisters, who created their own twisted version of the Book of Law called the Book of Shadows. As stated earlier, their culture was a female-dominated one, where women took the roles of leaders, warriors, and shamans. The males, however, were used as little more than slaves. Other than for procreation, the males' only use was for hard labor for their witch mistresses, and even if they possessed a connection to the Force, they would not be taught any spells. The only way a male could be granted his freedom is if he saved a female's life. A unique Force ability possessed by most Dathomir witches is the ability to project their will on animals, and thus they came to tame the fearsome native Rancors. The witches formed strong bonds with their Rancor mounts, and even rode their Rancors into battle. Their Rancors were also used as intimidation to keep their man-slaves in line, and more often than not, male children would be fed to the Rancors if more female children were desired. The origins of the Witches of Dathomir can be traced back to the Jedi Knight Alia, who existed in the years after the New Sith Wars. About 600 years before the Battle of Yavin, Alia was seduced to the dark side of the Force, and fearing another Sith uprising, the Jedi Council exiled her to a forgotten world in the Outer Rim that once served as a penal colony for the Pacian Empire before its collapse over 2,000 years prior. When she arrived on Dathomir, she saw the primitive descendants of former criminals struggling to survive against the native Rancors. However, with her attunement to the Force, she assumed leadership of them, and forged them into a society of strong, Force-sensitive warrior women who tamed the Rancors. Alia would go on to have many, many daughters, and before she died, she wrote and decreed the Book of Law, drawing from the Jedi Code for inspiration, as she had never fully crossed over to the dark side, but with her own atavistic twist. The witch daughters of Alia and others would go on to spread across the rest of Dathomir, settling new lands and establishing their own clans, whose names would often be derived from where they settled. For example, the Dreaming River clan settled near the banks of the Dreaming River. Different clans would go on to establish their own versions of the Book of Law, and while they varied from one another slightly, one core rule remained: never concede to evil. While Alia was alive, she never taught them about the light side of the Force or the dark side, rather that their actions defined whether they were good or evil, not their magic. It was how they chose to use their magic. Those who chose to use their magic for ill, however, were cast out from the clans and exiled to walk in the wilderness alone. And while some would be accepted back into their clans after long periods of repentance, others would meet with fellow exiles and conglomerate into their own clan, the Nightsisters. The Nightsisters used their magic for ill intent, and often engaged the other witch clans in wars for domination. However, they usually remained outnumbered by the followers of Alia's teachings. In 340 BBY, a large ship used to train Jedi, called the Chuan-Thor, crash-landed on Dathomir, and the witches attacked and took captive the survivors of the crash. A strike team led by Jedi Masters Yoda, Gra'atan, and Voltan was sent to Dathomir to rescue the Jedi prisoners. However, after taking heavy casualties, they were repelled. Yoda would negotiate with a witch named Rel, and in return for the surviving members of the Chuan-Thor to be released, Yoda gifted her a box of sacred texts used by the Jedi for teaching, and the promise that she would safeguard it, for Yoda would one day send an apprentice to deliver the witches from the Nightsisters. Around 30 BBY, the Nightsisters uncovered an ancient infinity gate used by the Qua civilization that ruled Dathomir in the centuries before the Republic's founding, and used the ancient teleportation device to channel a massive amount of energy at the nearby planet of Ova, destroying it. The Jedi Council at this time sent the Kefar Jedi Knight, Quinlan Vos, to investigate the source of the energy blast. However, upon landing on Dathomir, Vos was quickly captured and enslaved by the Nightsisters. It was during his enslavement that Vos discovered the Infinity Gate and found that the Nightsisters intended to aim it at Coruscant, and with help from the inside, he sabotaged the Nightsisters' plans, destroyed the Infinity Gate, and returned home to the Republic. Though most of the Dathomir witches remained isolated on Dathomir due to their relatively primitive technology, some of the Nightsisters managed to find their way off-world, like Mikhela, who joined Alexei Garen and the Black Sun Syndicate, and Sato, who joined Count Dooku's Dark Acolytes during the Clone Wars. Dathomir wouldn't be rediscovered until the Galactic Civil War, when the Empire began building a penal colony on the world per the Emperor's orders in 0 ABY. The colony was short-lived, however, since Gestharion, clan matriarch of the Nightsisters during that time, raided the colony, and Palpatine ordered that the prison's transport be destroyed to prevent them from leaving the world. After Palpatine's death at the Battle of Endor, Dathomir fell under Warlord Zinj's territory, and he was only really interested in the planet for its moon, which he used as a shipyard and supply depot. 8 years after the Battle of Yavin, Han Solo claimed to have won the planet in a game of sabacc, and attempted to vacation there with his co-pilot Chewbacca and Princess Leia Organa, who he was attempting to court at the time, to distract her from the Hapan Prince Isildur, who was also trying to court her. Their vacation turned sour when they were taken captive by the Rancor-riding Witches of the Singing Mountain clan, and, with Luke Skywalker arriving to investigate the Chuan-Thor with hopes of finding Jedi knowledge to help him in re-establishing the Jedi Order, the gang were now entangled in the inter-clan politics of the Dathomir Witches, as well as the presence of the New Republic's new #1 enemy, Warlord Zinj. With their help, Gestharion was defeated, and the Nightsisters' plans for dominance over Dathomir thwarted, as well as the defeat of Warlord Zinj with the arrival of a combined New Republic and Hape's Consortium fleet. Instead of marrying Princess Leia, Prince Isildur fell in love with Tenennial Jo, daughter of the matriarch of the Singing Mountain clan, and she went on to become the new Queen Mother of the Hape's Consortium, another female-dominated society, while her mother, Alguin Jo, would be proclaimed the Queen of Dathomir, and the witch clans were united under the Singing Mountain clan's leadership. After being isolated and cut off from the rest of the galaxy for centuries, the Witches of Dathomir were now in control of their own sovereign planet, with membership in the New Republic. However, that did not stop the Imperial Remnant's continued interests in the world. In 12 ABY, the Remnant attempted to uncover the Infinity Gate, and in doing so, forged an alliance with an upstart Nightsister clan. However, they were foiled by the young Jedi of Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy. By 19 ABY, a fallen Jedi named Brachus attempted to recruit the Dathomir Witches into his new Shadow Academy, an Imperial counter to Luke's Jedi Academy, and through his influence, the Great Canyon clan heeded his call, and they claimed themselves Nightsisters. Tamith Kai of the Great Canyon clan would serve as Brakkus' assistant instructor at the Shadow Academy, until her death during the assault on Luke's Jedi Praxium in 23 ABY, which also saw the defeat of the Shadow Academy. During the Yuuzhan Vong invasion, Dathomir was one of the planets lucky enough to have been able to repel the extragalactic invaders, and soon after, a permanent Jedi enclave was established there under the Jedi Knight and Dathomir native Kirana T. Around 43 ABY, a lost tribe of Sith who had been marooned on a planet called Kesh since the end of the Great Hyperspace War, nearly 5 millennia beforehand, returned to the wider galaxy, and struck at Luke's new Jedi Order, and during one such skirmish, one survivor named Vestra Kai fled to Dathomir, where she entered the protection of the Witch clans. Vestra Kai was recaptured when Luke and his son Ben led a strike team to thwart the Lost Tribe's efforts to capture and forcibly recruit several Nightsisters to their cause. This ends my findings on the Witches of Dathomir. If you have any suggestions for future transmissions, don't be afraid to drop a comment. In the meantime, keep your comm channels open for future transmissions, and don't forget to subscribe. Tad Larkin, out.